and their tireless leadership. Now, I'll turn it over to Speaker Emerita, Nancy Pelosi.
Thank you very much, Governor. Thank you very much, Governor, for your warm welcome, for the invitation to be here today in Baltimore, my Baltimore. I'm happy to be here with family members, Nikki D'Alessandro and Skylar, my nephew and grandniece. And again, thank you for acknowledging my father and brother and their years of service to Baltimore. What we are hearing here today is something very special for America. When this bridge was put in jeopardy, the governor has given us a path on how we come back, starting with the families. I want the families to know that I bring with me the condolences of the Congress of the United States, already conveyed by the distinguished Maryland delegation. But you are in our thoughts, our hearts, and our prayers, and will be for a long time. And I hope you'll tell your children the heroes that their dads, uncles, relatives are to all of us in all of this. And I'm glad that I join of the governor in saluting Unified Command, the first responders who made closure possible by their discovery and their relentlessness until that job was done. Thank you, Governor, for leading with the families. Secondly, in terms of opening up the path to ships and all, well, I just came back from New Orleans, where I was, and reviewed with some of the folks there what we did after Katrina, because some of it was new. It was new. And what we learned in Katrina is to listen to the locals, and that is what I'm here today to further do. We have observed the leadership. The governor has demonstrated a capacity that is boundless in terms of absorbing new information in a new situation, having the judgment to make a call on different paths to go. And this is remarkable because there's so much emotion involved when there's loss of life and loss of livelihood for so many people. So, Governor, thank you. Thank you so much for showing the way. And as you acknowledged, Ben Cardin and Chris Van Hollen in the Senate, our congressional delegation, House congressional delegation, just relentless on the floor of the House. This is Kwasi Mfume's district. He's the chairman of the Morgan State University, so he's at the college today, and I'll join him later. But his concern is boundless also and endless in this regard. And Congressman Sarbanes will be joining us on the tour, but all of the members have been there. And I thank you especially for acknowledging Ben Cardin, because in the House, I served with him in the House, in the Senate, he has been a leader, not only for Baltimore and Maryland, but for the country as well. Thank you, Ben Cardin. But learning also from your lieutenant governor, who, and by dint of her education and engineering and all of that, and her work in the state legislature, is a valuable resource in all of this arena. Lieutenant Governor Miller. Brandon Scott has been about equity and fairness on how we address challenges that we have. Of course, Johnny O, where you go? Johnny O has been about community and working families and the rest, so seeing the solutions through those eyes, very important to us, because our president will always ask the question, Joe Biden, because he's been essential in so much of what we need to be done, and he will always ask the question, what does this mean to the workers? What does it mean to working families? Johnny O and the mayor have been, that's what they have been about, and they bring those values along with the governor and the lieutenant governor to all of this. As the governor pointed out, the danger in the repair and the rest, let us salute our friends in labor who are doing so much of that. I'm always in awe of them. I see it firsthand at the Golden Gate Bridge. I see here now in repair and the rest. Let us thank them for what they do. And Secretary Whitfield, thank you for bringing all of your leadership to bear on this specific in transportation. And speaking of transportation, I know you mentioned the hearing that is coming up. We're very proud of Rick Larson, the Democratic ranking member on that committee. as well as thank you for acknowledging the Appropriations Committee. I'm an appropriator, so I love when that's recognized, but I also want to acknowledge Rosa DeLauro and Patty Murray, two women heads of the Appropriations Committee. Barbara Mikulski was one of the first women to head up the, another Maryland connection in terms of what comes next, finding the money for all of this. And so it is, I know we'll hear from the Admiral about so much of what will come next. We thank our friends in the Coast Guard for what they have been doing, what they will do as well, and Commander Moose as well. So again, I just want to end with this Maryland tribute that I pay all the time, and now I'll pay it here. You know that the national anthem was written in Baltimore at the War of 1812. And people cheer at the end, home of brave land of, all that at the end. But where I want people to cheer, and what serves our purpose right now, is the part where it says, proof through the night that our flag was still there. That our flag was still there. Through these challenges and difficulties, we want to prove through the night that our flag was still there, and as we pledge, with liberty and justice for all. With liberty and justice for all. So that's Maryland, well, it's Baltimore strong, it's just stay here, and again, to the state of Maryland and the great leadership of the governor. Thank you for providing a model to the nation on how to deal with a challenge, as you have said, with speed, but not at the sacrifice of safety. Thank you, Governor. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Rear Admiral Gilroy speaking on behalf of the Unified Command. First, our thoughts and prayers remain with the families. We are thankful that we were able to recover all of the victims, but our thoughts and prayers remain with them. Second, on the progress towards restoring commerce to the Port of Baltimore, we continue to make excellent progress in that regard. Over the last 7 weeks, we've moved a total of 365 commercial vessels through the alternate channels that have been established. And since last Wednesday night, we reopened the limited access deep draft channel for traffic. And we've continued to move vessels through there on a not to interfere with salvage basis. And we are going to keep that open until this afternoon, when we will close that until we are able to complete the precision cutting on the dolly. So to update you on the salvage operations, the first priority is, again, clearing all the debris from the deep draft channel. And the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, U.S. Navy Supervisor of Salvage, and their contractors, along with all the other salvage who are participating, continue to make great progress in that regard. They have now deepened that channel to 48 feet in depth, and it's now 350 feet wide. And they will continue to work on that channel after we are able to do the precision cutting tonight on the dolly. So as removal of the ship, that was our second priority, remove the ship. We are making progress in that regard. We had some difficult weather over the last week or so with some high winds, and yesterday we had some delays due to lightning. But we are on track for this afternoon at 1700 to do the precision cutting. After we do the precision cutting, we will then go back and resurvey the channel as well as survey around the dolly to make sure there are no obstructions that came from that precision cutting that would interfere with traffic. And then we will reopen the limited access channel to traffic at that particular point in time. And then we will refloat the dolly and remove the dolly in approximately 2 days. So that's the plan, to remove the dolly. And then third, the state continues to make great progress along with the salvers to remove the remaining debris from the waterway. And as you can see visually and notice the difference over these last 7 weeks, you can see that almost all the steel truss that was above the water line across the entire bridge section has now been removed. And that's been great progress. And we are on track to fully reopen the deep draft channel to 50 feet and 700 feet wide by the end of the month. So those are my updates, and I'll now turn it over to Senator Cardin.
Well, Admiral, first of all, thank you very much. The Unified Command has truly been a model for our nation on teamwork, working together, accomplishing a mission that when we looked at the bridge in the channel on March 26th, I don't think any of us thought we would be where we are today and restoring as much of the traffic through the Port of Baltimore as we have. Congratulations to the Unified Command. We could not have done it without all the people here, and we really salute you for your incredible leadership, your talent, and your commitment. Governor Moore, you made this all happen. It takes the leadership of the governor to bring us all together and to have a game plan that can work. I want you to know the 4 priorities that you mentioned. First, to make sure the families of the victims are taken care of, to bring closure as you have to the 6 victims of this horrible, catastrophic collision and destruction of a bridge has been accomplished. Second, to restore commerce to the Port of Baltimore as quickly as possible, and we are far ahead of schedule in accomplishing that. Third, to take care of the thousands of people that have been hurt by this bridge coming down. The businesses, the employees, the workers, the business coming into Baltimore, all that has been impacted by it, and you have developed a game plan working with all of your partners at the federal, state, local levels, been able to get that done. And then third, to make sure that the story of the Francis Scott Key Bridge does not end here, that a replacement bridge will be rebuilt as quickly as possible, and it will be built even stronger to deal with the current realities of commerce that come through the port. You have the total support of our Maryland federal delegation. All 10 of our members support those 4 missions. I want to give a shout out to Senator Van Hollen and Congressman Mfume, but our entire district. Speaker Pelosi, it is always wonderful to have you here. You really energize us all, so thank you so much. Speaker Pelosi and I have served in many ways together through many missions. She is an inspiration for everyone. And we're glad that you may have a home in San Francisco, but your heart really is in Baltimore, and we appreciate that very much. And we have never, ever acknowledged your citizenship anything other than it being in Baltimore. So thank you so much for your leadership. Team that put this together, it's been our governments, private sector, companies, nonprofits, all working together, originally taking care of the first responders. Restaurants closed their businesses in order to make sure that they could provide the food. To take care of the families, we've seen companies come forward with resources. But the extraordinary leadership at the local level is perhaps the most challenging. So to Mayor Brandon Scott and to County Exec Johnny Oshesky, you didn't worry about where the line between Baltimore City and Baltimore County was. You worked together as a team with Stuart Pittman and Anne Arundel County, and you provided what we needed at the time to make sure there were no gaps. And that's an extraordinary partnership in order to bring this about. And to Lieutenant Governor Miller, I want to thank you because Speaker Pelosi's right. It's wonderful to have an engineer available that we can get free advice for at the state level. So it's really been a team effort. I just want to make one last point. This is National Infrastructure Week. And we would not be in the position today, Governor, to get the funds we need to replace the bridge if it were not for the leadership of President Biden and Speaker Pelosi in getting that infrastructure bill to the finish line that puts enough money in the federal checking account so we can deal with major infrastructure in this country. Because you see, the replacement of the Francis Scott Key Bridge will be one of the largest infrastructure transportation programs in America. It's going to require a considerable amount of resources. We are going to receive the money from the Emergency Relief Fund. We'll get the money. But there are other projects in the nation that need funds. And if we didn't have the replenishments that came through the infrastructure bill, Madam Speaker, we would never be in the position we are today to give the confidence that we'll be able to get the money necessary for the bridge. And Governor Moore, you've talked, I think your Rolodex on members of Congress is better than mine. I'm going to have to get your list to help us figure out how I can reach members as quickly as you have. But you have been there just reaching out, and it pays off, believe me, because I've heard from so many of my colleagues in the House and Senate, Democrats and Republicans, supporting us on the bill that we need to get passed that would make it clear that the federal share will be 100%. Right now it's a 90-10, but at every one of these catastrophic events that have occurred in our country, we've always provided 100% federal funds, and I'm confident we're going to be able to get that legislation passed. Senator Van Hollen and I have introduced that bill in the Senate. Congressman Mfume and our other members have introduced that in the House, and we're optimistic to get that bill done. But that's not the end of the funding. As the governor pointed out in the meeting I just had with Chairman Carper, the insurance companies believe this could be the largest claim ever from a vessel accident in maritime history. We're going to get the federal taxpayer reimbursed through insurance and liability claims for the damages that have been caused. So as we need the money today so that we don't delay in replacing the bridge that's so important to the artery on the east coast of the United States, those responsible and those insurance claims will help to make sure the federal taxpayer gets the relief from those responsible for this horrible, catastrophic event. So it's been a great team effort. We're not done yet. We still have a lot more to do. But I must tell you, Governor, we're a lot further along the way than I thought we would be when I looked at that bridge on March 26th. Congratulations for your extraordinary leadership, and I'm going to bring up one of the key partners in all of this, the Mayor of Baltimore, Brandon Scott.
Good morning, and thank you, Senator. On that fateful day of March 26th, I made a remark that our focus had to be on the individuals that were missing, that we lost, and their families. And there will come a time when we could fully switch our focus on to reopening the channel and rebuilding the bridge. Thanks to this unified command, we never lost our way. We will always focus on recovering those victims, those heroes, and bringing them home to their families to provide some sort of closure. So I want to say thank you to Unified Command, not for just delivering on that promise, but for helping those families begin, which is going to be a lifelong effort of having closure and peace brought to them and their families. Nothing will fully overcome the pain of their loss, but I'm deeply grateful to Unified Command and everybody, especially those first responders who've been out there working to bring your loved ones home. Please know that the little peace and closure that this brings for the families, we will continue to support them each and every day as we have been since that fateful day, even as we now turn our focus to reopening of the federal channel fully. To that end, as discussed later today, Unified Command will have our precision cuts to remove the debris of the Key Bridge from the bow of the Dalley. I guess I want to say again that this is a safe and thoughtful approach, but it may be loud and noticeable in a way that the process has not been thus far, especially for those working in the industrial areas around the bridge. Again, we ask that everyone obey the safety drone and the urge to resist flying your drone into the area, because we do not want to jeopardize the workers. We haven't had anyone get hurt thus far, and we will not have that happen because someone wants to fly a drone. The work here, as you've heard, has been remarkable. None of us that fateful day thought we would be thus far, so far, as quickly as we are. So I want to reiterate my thanks to my governor, to Unified Command, the hundreds of Army Corps, Coast Guard, and Navy service members, as well as the civilian sailors and workers who have done this diligent work each and every day, minute by minute, second by second, hour by hour, and doing it the right way to make sure that everyone remains safe. You all have kept those impacted in your focuses, in your hearts, and you all have shown, as you heard before, the nation a telltale of how you can work together across agencies, across branches of government. I also want to extend my thanks to Speaker Pelosi and say welcome home, ma'am. We are so glad to have you home. We'll be sure to send you back with some blue crabs to replace those Dungeness crabs that they try to feed you in San Francisco. We know how formidable you are, but we want to say thank you for always showing up for Baltimore and working as the extra member of the Maryland Congressional Delegation, of which we know we have the best in the country, led by Senator Cardin, Senator Van Hollen, and of course, our wonderful Congressman Kwasi Mfume. Thank you, Mr. Senator, for leading our delegation and showing the rest of the country how you're supposed to show up for your state and for your city. And with that, I will turn it over to my partner and Senator. This is a little easy for the county executive and I. This is how we work every day. We make these efforts on things starting when I came to office on simple as snow removal, where we ended the practice of just picking up the plow at the line and said, no, we're going to go over and make sure that we work together in deep ways and deep partnerships. So when you have something like this, it's muscle memory for us to work because we are one Baltimore, one region, and we'll be stronger together. And with that, I will turn it over to my partner, County Executive Olszewski.
Thank you to my friend and partner, Mayor Scott. He's right. We are all one Baltimore, and that's been the case since day one when we started our work together. So, Mayor, thank you for your partnership. It truly makes a difference, particularly in moments of great challenge. And to Baltimore's favorite daughter, Speaker Pelosi, thank you for always keeping Baltimore in your heart and for always coming back, for always showing up, and for being that extraordinary bonus member of our federal delegation, as the mayor referenced. We are lucky to count you as a friend, as a partner, and thanks for being part of an extended part of the delegation family led by Senator Cardin, who has done an outstanding job, as the governor has said, in this moment, along with